1977, were you arrested in reference to a Statue of Liberty case?
Yes. The Puerto Ricans wanted to do something dramatic that might be able to release one of the 5 Puerto Rican nationalists in prison, because that one was dying of cancer, and he was Andres Figueroa Cordero. And so they said if they could do something that would catch the media's eye, and I think there were 29 or 30, and I felt very, very grateful that they even asked if I would want to participate. There were several blacks, there were several whites, and there were women. I was the only Asian. But they called a meeting, of course, to tell us why they were doing it. We thought, gee, this is great. We got to get Cordero out before he dies. And some of the people in the leadership were people like Panama Alba and Richie Perez. And they just told us that, all right, know your objective. We got to get to the statue before anybody else. We got to all get in there and close that statue. And then all the brothers, ran all the way up to the top and put the Puerto Rican flag, what is it, around the statue's head. But they told us that that day, that morning, when we got there, we must not recognize any other person in the group, because they don't want to give anything away, and don't talk to anyone, and that, we'll be lined up anywhere, but try to be at the beginning, because we're going to have to really run and get everybody else out of our way. And what was funny was, in a way, that about the first 10 people in that line were Japanese tourists. They were, and the furthest thing from their mind would be that anybody would be doing anything like that. And then after that, there were all these children. They were from some Catholic school that the teacher was taking them, to see the statue. And then, there were, I don't know if there were hundreds of people in line, but we were all just scattered throughout the line. Then once the boat landed, we just ran, and we tried to, and I think some of the brothers even had to sort of push the kids out of the way, because when we started running, the kids started running, wondering why we were running. But then we all got to the statue, and then the brothers closed the statues, and then they started to put all the furniture in the statue against the doors and putting newspapers so people couldn't peek in. It was really exciting.
Sister Yuri, the color red always wreaks havoc with this camera. So that red teddy bear.
Oh.
Can you shift him and replace him with that blue one?
Sure. Okay.
Just reposition him for tonight.
Yeah. Oh, this one has Malcolm's.
Oh, put that black one over there. Now put that blue one
next to
it.
Yeah.
Because red it wreaks havoc.
Okay. Is he far enough away?
Let me see.
That's the Indian bear, though. That's all right.
Okay.
Okay, shall we get the brown one close?
Yeah, move the brown one over and put that red one all the way on the get him out of here.
Okay. And I think when you think of the kind of things that happened even within a week before Malcolm was killed, of course everybody remembers the week before he was killed, his house was burned down. All right, and that was on, I think, a Saturday night. Few days later, I think it was about what day was it, 14th? Tuesday, I think. 3 of his close brothers who would have been security were busted on the Statue of Liberty case. Bob Colliers, Walter Bowe, and Brother Khalil. I mean, it was a way, it seemed like whether it was the government or whoever wanted to get at Malcolm, they were step by step taking away the people who could have protected Malcolm. And so as those things were happening, and then of course on that February 21st, when you think that not one person who was invited to speak on the 21st showed up. you know, like Galamison and a whole bunch of the others. They didn't show. I mean, that said something. But that whole week before he was killed, people were talking. But wait, but the question you asked, was it then before then? You're talking about March?
Yes, I'm talking about
The March the year before?
Yes, 64.
64 March, when he broke away.
And then leading up
Yes.
until the assassination, the atmosphere, how it changed. Like Earl Grant mentioned that when he made his announcement in March, it was kind of mild. But by the time they got around to June
Yes.
and August, it started heating up.
Yes. Oh, yes. All right. In March, okay, that's when he called a press conference and all. All right. It was around that time that I was trying to get a hold of Malcolm to see if he could be available at the beginning of June when the Hiroshima Nagasaki World Peace Study Mission would be here. But when I talked to a lot of the movement activists like Malcolm's people, they all told me he would never go to your house at that time. He said, look what's happening now. And it was end of March. And by April and May, there were so many rumors that Malcolm was going to be killed. I don't know which side was going to do it, but by May, there was a lot of talk. And then June, so when June came, we didn't think Malcolm would show. And I am surprised that he did come. But no, in Harlem, you could feel that coming.
Us together.
You want to go back to 18?
I wanted one of you to ask Sister Yuri, was Charles Kenyatta turned away from Yuri's apartment one day when he tried to come, and was he one of the ones that they took away from protecting Malcolm? That, you know, because she mentioned Khalil, Saeed, and Walter Bowe as people that would protect Malcolm, and it got them away from protecting Malcolm. Was Charles Kenyatta one of the ones that would protect Malcolm, and they got him away from Malcolm? Because from my understanding, he tried to get into Yuri's apartment, and he was turned down. Ask her that.
Oh, really? I didn't.
That's
No,
not
but I could answer it.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't think he was turned down.
So you don't know anything about that?
No, but Charles Kenyatta's name is in the book, and Malcolm, where Charles Kenyatta, George Foley X, and Earl Grant signed, and Malcolm signed.
It was,
Key to what she
it
said.
was Wichiko's apartment he tried to come to. It was another lady's apartment he was turned down from.
Because he only been here one time. That's what we have to remember.
One time?
Yeah, only one
Malcolm
time.
only been here one
I'm talking about
time.
Kenyatta.
Kenyatta only been here one time with Malcolm, right?
Yeah. Well, I met so many inspiring people in Harlem. It was really the Harlem activists. I mean, back in my time, it'd be people like May Mallory. I have the highest regard for her. And there were people like, you know, Bill Epton, he's right from this project, he just lived right here. And Sonia Sanchez lived in the next building. I mean, there were a lot of people right from this project who were active. And even someone who's probably almost forgotten, and one of the most terrific guys was Joe Patterson. And although he was not in a radical group, he was in Harlem Parents Committee, he was the one guy that wanted to invite Malcolm to Harlem Parents Committee. He was unsuccessful. But I mean, there was just so many people. Yeah.
Why would men like Walter Bowe, three men that were pretty well trained to secure Malcolm, allow themselves to get wrapped up? It wasn't something that they legitimately was involved in, or was it a frame-up? The three men that...
Oh, I think the Statue of Liberty case was a frame-up. I mean, he had three really men who were passionately about the black liberation struggle, who loved and were so devoted to Malcolm. And I think, well, those who busted him, it's not just the police department. I mean, the FBI, CIA, I think they all were part of it. And the fact that they sent in an agent, you know, Raymond Woods, into that group, I mean, they were out to get those three guys.
Now, Raymond Wood was a part of the Statue of Liberty
case,
case. Okay.
He was an infiltrator?
infiltrator.
How was it known that he was exposed to be an infiltrator?
I think even before the trial, I'm sure that, of course, Bob Collier, Waterboy, and Khalil, I'm sure they were not sent to the same prison. They never put you in the same prison. They don't want you to get together and all that. But they all knew it had to be Ray Woods. And I think they got the word out to the people on the street that, and then Ray Woods admitted it. And anyway, when the case came to trial, it all came out in the trial.
Now,
So he was in the OAU, Ray Woods?
No, no, only in the Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. This is two. These men were involved in another group.
Yeah,
At the same time, they were with Malcolm,
yeah.
He coerced
and
those
he
three
coerced
brothers.
on them and busted them on in that group.
Hmm.
Now, these men were in prison at the time of Malcolm's assassination, or did they?
Oh, yeah, they were taken in just before. Malcolm was assassinated on the 21st. They were apprehended on 14th. Oh, so it's just one week before then, huh?
Did you attend the funeral?
Did I attend the what?
Malcolm X's funeral.
No, of course everybody wanted to go. If you remember those pictures, the lineup, I mean, we were out there in that, in that long, long line. It was one of the coldest days I remember. And here, of course, we couldn't get in. And yet all those big-name people got in. They weren't Malcolm's people, but they were big-name civil rights people, or they held, offices in the government or something, and they all got in. But the church was only so large, but there were, I think, several thousand people outside who couldn't get in.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because Dr. Ben said that there were people at that funeral inside of that church that wouldn't have been caught dead with Malcolm alive.
Right, absolutely.
That wouldn't have gave him 10 cents tour with the OAAU or anything else, and they were given basically
Yes.
red carpet.
Right,
treatment.
that's true. That's what happened. Dr. Ben said that.
Yes, he
He's
did.
absolutely right, that there were people in there that never supported Malcolm. If anything, they spoke out against Malcolm. And yet, I don't know how they got the red carpet treatment. They got in right away because they were names, I guess. Yeah.
Now, when Malcolm, Sister Ella, his half-sister Ella, do you remember her coming into the OAAU and taking it over? Or by that time you had already, as far as James Campbell had already dismissed you?
I'm sure he had dismissed me, but I know, well, Sister Ella and I became very, very close. Every time she came into town, she'd call me, and I'd go over there, and we'd talk and talk and talk for hours. But Sister Ella, yes, wanted the reins of the OAU, and she even had a paper in writing that Malcolm, I think, said something about if anything happened to him, she would be the rightful heir to the OAU. But I think a lot of Malcolm's people did not agree with that. And in fact, that's why I think a whole lot of Malcolm's closest people didn't really become, after Malcolm, that they didn't continue with OAU. But her book is coming out this year. So, oh yeah, Peter Bailey is working on it.